welcome to this week's episode of Pre-Match Drills. Massive game this weekend, so to preview the trip to Brisbane Road, we speak to Dave, the Leyton Orient fan, plus we relive the action from the reverse fixture at Adams Park from earlier in the season. But before all of that, let's catch up with the head coach, Mike Dodds. Mike, massive game. I guess I know it's a league game, but these now feel like the energy of cup games. Is that how you feel too?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got an opportunity to correct what obviously happened on Monday, and that's obviously the message that has been relayed to the group all week. It'll get relayed again tomorrow. But it's going to be a difficult game. We're under no illusion around that. You know, Leyton Orient have had an incredible season. They're in fine form. But we'll go there with every bit of confidence, knowing that we get an opportunity to correct Monday and continue what was positive form before the last game. How's the reaction been this week after that defeat on Monday? As you would expect, a lot of wounded individuals, but they're really keen to obviously correct what was a really disappointing afternoon. And I almost want to try and park it, but I also want to try and use it as fuel for us to make sure that we finish the next two games with real positivity and take maximum points.
There's similarities between the Bolton game and this Leyton Orient game, because Bolton had stuff on the line. Obviously the intensity is ratcheting up now as we get nearer the finish line, but it's away from home against a team that also needs to deliver. Big similarities in the fixtures.
And the Huddersfield game, speaking to the Huddersfield staff before that game, they felt that was a must-win game, and we were immaculate in our performance in those two games. So we'll take some confidence from that, but look, they'll have different types of threats. They're a good team, as I said. They've had a really good season. The coach has done extremely well with them. So we're under no illusions. It'll be a tough game, but as I always do when I sit here, teams will look at us and know that we have plenty of threats, and we have some really good players for this level. So they'll be very wary of the threats that we will pose them as well.
It's going to be a cauldron-like atmosphere. The home fans will be up for it as well, of course they will. But the away end is sold out as well, and the Wycombe fans have really played their part on the road this season, and also stuck with the team on Monday too.
Yeah, I'll be forever grateful for Monday. I went to the kind of shed end and apologised, because I felt that's the very least that I could have done what was a really poor afternoon. One that no one internally seen coming, and I don't think anyone externally would have seen that coming. But I think when you have those days, and they can happen, we're hoping it's a freak afternoon. You have to take your medicine. You've got to take it on the chin, and I think it was really important for me to kind of apologise and hold my hands up and recognise the fact that while I'm the head coach of this football club, we have to rectify that, and that won't happen again. So they stuck with us, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And I have no doubt that there'll be a fine voice come the weekend, because they know that although Leyton Orient need to win, we need to win, and it will be an incredible game of football, hopefully. And hopefully, the positives will be on our side rather than the opposition.
Right then, it's a huge game, to put it bluntly, at Brisbane Road on Saturday, and to get the lowdown on the O's is our good friend Dave Forbert, big Leyton Orient fan. Dave, you're smiling today. How are you?
Very well, yeah. After our last few results, I'm very happy. We had a great Easter.
Yeah, you've got into the final playoff position, and looking at the table, bar some incredible sort of mental gymnastics and goal scoring by other people, it's between you and Reading, isn't it? It's a straight shootout now in these final two games. Yeah,
I mean, it's, to be honest, I think we're all delighted and surprised we're in this position. I think the start of the season we hoped we'd have a playoff push. I don't think we necessarily expected it. But we hoped we would, and then we had a terrible start, and then we sort of had our turnaround point a few games after. Actually, you guys beat us when our goalkeeper Josh Keeley scored in the cup in the last minute of injury time, and then since then we've not really looked back. We had a fantastic run of about 15 games where we won 12 of them. But then we stalled again when we lost 5 in a row against some good teams. That must have been January, I think it was. But then somehow we've dug it out again. And so I think I'm right in saying it was the last game was the first time we've actually been in the playoffs. But it's the time you want to do it when there's only a few games left. So yeah, it's been a mad old season, but brilliant, and we're all delighted, frankly, that we're in this position. Hopefully, we can push on and get that last spot.
Everyone says supporting a football club is like a roller coaster, but this season for you has literally been that, hasn't it?
Oh, it has been mad. Like there were people calling for Wellens to be sacked in November. People posting up, we've got a League Two squad and all this. And I know every club has your miserablists and your moaners, but it was a bit despondent. But then, as I say, that Oldham Cup game, we were awful that day. And then Josh Keeley, our goalkeeper, on loan from Spurs, he goes up and he scores a beautiful header in the 96th minute. And suddenly the entire mood lifts. We ended up winning that game. We went on our cup run where we ended up putting on a really good show against City. And it's funny. It's it's largely the same group of players. We bought a few extras in January when it became clear that we could potentially have a crack at the playoffs. But yeah, they suddenly just got their mojo, and a few players that hadn't really done a lot at that point suddenly started playing. People like Jamie Donnelly, also on loan from Spurs. Who I have to say, I think one of the best loan players I've ever seen at the Orient. He's been magnificent. After a slow start, he's suddenly adapted to League One, and he's got an absolute wonder of a left foot. And so, yeah, it's just been great fun, and I think we're all really seeing it as a bonus. If we get in the playoffs, brilliant. And even if we don't, we've had a terrific season.
You mentioned the goalkeeper scoring as well, but there's another sort of weird sort of quirk that football can throw up as well. Richie Wellens, big fan of what he's done for Leyton Orient as well, like in the previous seasons as well. But he's quite an angry man. He gets a lot of cards. And didn't the run start with him being sent off and having to sit in the stands, and then they realised that was working and he's remained higher up?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I can't remember the exact chronology of it, but I think it might have been Oldham, that game where he got sent off, and he'd accrued so many previous points before. I think he got a 3-match ban. And then I think we won all 3 of those, or at the very least unbeaten. And do you know what? I think even he'd probably admit this. You could see the players were more relaxed. Richie just can't help himself. When he's on the touchline, he micromanages, he's yelling at players. And they almost relaxed because he wasn't there and they could just play their game. And for his part, he kind of said in the interview, he's like, well, I get a better view of it, quite literally, tactically, being up in the stands. And yeah, that entire 15-match run, he was up in the stands. Like, if things went wrong in a game, second half, he might pop down. And he was obviously in touch with his assistant on the touchline. But yeah, it was like not something I expected from Richie. A sort of bit of humbleness almost. It was like, well, it's working, so let's keep it going.
You mentioned he was under pressure at the start of the season, but in the overall sort of tenure at Brisbane Road, he's been fantastic, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think it was any real pressure, and certainly the owners, I don't think, panicked at any point. They're very calm, collected. They look at the long term. The last season was our first season back in League One after promotion. We're still in consolidation period, really. And we had a very respectable first season back. I think we finished 10th, 11th, something like that. Perfectly adequate. And even this year, me and my sort of friends, we'd have been perfectly happy with the same. Maybe improve a place or two. And obviously that's where we might end up, but we might end up 7th. But it's an improvement. But yeah, obviously we hoped we might get a crack at the playoffs, but we didn't expect it. With the big teams in the division this year, it was such a strong division. I think realistically, we didn't really expect it, but we hoped.
Well, in 6th at the right time, and also the striker in form as well, current leading goal scorer in League One, Charlie Kelman, and it helps when you've got someone who can find the back of the net at this stage of the season.
Yeah, he's been an interesting player because he played for us 2 seasons ago, the year we came up from League Two, on loan from QPR, and he played very well without sort of being outstanding. He was obviously a bit younger then, but he's Wellens' ideal striker. He'll run all day. He'll put the shift in. But at that point, I didn't really have him down as sort of a clinical finisher at all. But he was certainly a good player, and he might improve. And then he went back to QPR last season. I think it was under Gareth Ainsworth at that point, and he started that season, but I think he played about 10 games, didn't quite hit the standard. And so this season he was loaned out again and came back to us. And you could see in the first few players, you're like, first few games, he was like, he's definitely improved. He's stronger all round. But I was still a question mark. You know, he finished 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 chances. You know, not the brilliant finisher, but he still worked hard, great member of the team. And then I don't know what it is, but suddenly the last few months he has absolutely clicked. He's putting everything away. And I think it's a couple of games ago, I think Mansfield curled in an absolute beauty, 25 yards out, top corner. He got a poacher's goal yesterday against Cambridge. You know, he kind of just waited at the back stick, didn't commit, nodded his header in. He's on fire. He's always had the work rate and the sort of, general quality, but really his finishing in the last few months has been phenomenal.
And the home form as well, how's that looking? Because obviously this game is at your place, so what's the home form like?
Yeah, it's pretty even. We've not particularly been any better at home than away. And I must admit, after that, the 15-game run where we really that's where it got us into contention. We played beautiful, free-flowing football, great to watch. And then we had that 5-game stutter where we lost, and that definitely has affected confidence. So the current run we're on, we've won 6 of the last 8, but we are really digging it out. And the last 4 games, we've come from behind to win. So we're not playing as well as we did overall in that big run. But we do seem to just find a way to dig it out somehow and get those results. So I honestly don't really know what to expect on Saturday. You know, I say the last run of 5 we played against the top teams, we lost a lot. So there's every chance you could beat us. You're much higher in the league than we are. But we are just decent to have this team spirit and an ability to just dig out results when we've needed to.
You've mentioned the loanees from Spurs. You've mentioned the striker Kelman. Anyone else that Wycombe should be keeping an eye on?
Well, I don't want to give away too much information, to be honest. I shouldn't have said that even. But no, the other player who's really impressed this year, it's another lone player actually. It's Jack Curry. He played for Wimbledon last year, and Oxford bought him, but then they immediately loaned him to us. Not immediately. They did that in January because I think he wasn't quite getting in their side, obviously 2 leagues up from where he was. And he's been absolutely brilliant. Proper, superb left back, good all-round game, scrapper, bit of pace, can cross a ball. But he did get a nasty challenge about 10 minutes before the end of the Cambridge game yesterday. So not sure if he'll be fit. If he's not fit, that's a big loss for us. But we'll see.
There we are. Right, lots riding on this one then. How are your nerves?
Oh, well, to be honest, yeah, it's weird. As I say, it was the first time we were in 6th after our win on Good Friday when we scored 3 goals in 6 minutes. I've never seen that before in my life supporting Orient. And it was suddenly the first time in a season where you were like, oh, we've got something to lose now. You know, it's all very well when you're chasing, you kind of like, well, it's a shot to nothing. But I did not enjoy yesterday's game against Cambridge one bit. I was far too tense. And I imagine Saturday's going to be horrible. And I guess no matter what happens on Saturday, we'll still be in contention for the final game against Huddersfield. So I'm going up for that one. And again, I imagine that'll be horrible as well. So, I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be honest, but I guess hopefully we can pull something off. But obviously, I'd love you guys to somehow go up as well. I don't know if that's going to be possible for us to both be happy. We'll see.
We shall see. Well, make sure your phone's charged up. Everyone's going to be checking results all over the place on Saturday in both ends. So yeah, looking forward to it and see you there.
Lovely. See you there, Phil.
Earlier in the season, Leyton Orient travelled to Adams Park, and here's what happened.
Serving in the armed forces, and those who continue to put their lives at risk will be remembered inside Adams Park.
Right, that's it for this week's show. See you at Leyton Orient if you got tickets. And if you haven't, then don't worry, because Wanderers TV has got you covered. It's an early kickoff too, 12:30. Come on, you Blues.